Oops, make sure this is focused. There we go. Solve each equation using any method. All right, so we can use any method here. Let's use factoring if we can. We have 6x squared, and we'll see if it works. And if it doesn't, then we'll go ahead and use a different method. Minus 25x plus 4 equals 0. So I just went ahead and brought the 25 to the other side. All right, so or you can complete the square as exactly what you did last week. That would also work. Okay, let's see if we can do AC method. So AC method, A times C, 6 times 4 is 24, and then negative 25 is my B. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to get 24, that add to get negative 25. So let's see, how about if we have, if we do 1 times 24, obviously that's not going to work. Because 1 plus 20, well, I'm sorry, I had to eat my words. 1 times 24 does work, because what's 1 times 24? 1 times 24 is 24, and then 1 plus 24 is 25. So those are obviously going to have to be negative, and those are also going to have to be negative. Okay, so I found my factors right away. Nice. So remember, I got to take my A down here, because remember that was my A, that's my B, and that's my C. And I have to take my A down here and write 6x, and then I have to put my factors down here. Negative 1, negative 24. And remember on the last one, there was nothing to factor out, so we didn't have to do that. But this one, there is something to factor out. So 6x minus 1, nothing's to factor out, so you're finished with that factor. But this one here, divide by 6, that's going to be x minus 4. All right, and so this is my factors, but it doesn't ask for my factors, it asks for my roots or my solutions. So you just have to put those equal to 0. So add 1, 6x equals 1, and x equals 1/6. So that's 1. And the second one is x minus 4 equals 0. So x is going to be 4. So that's 2. So my answer is 4 and 1/6. Okay, all right. Find all real solutions. So in order for me to do this, I have a square root. So I am going to square both sides. Square both sides. So I'm going to bring the work down here. So if I square both sides, I get 24 minus 2x equals x squared. Okay, so now let's put everything to one side. X squared plus 2x minus 24 equals 0. Okay, now let's try to factor it. Again, if I do AC method, I'm looking for AC. 1 times 24 is negative. 1 times negative 24, sorry, is negative 24. And my B is 2. Two numbers to multiply to get negative 24, to add or subtract to get 2. So I'm going to do 6 and 4, right? So I get maybe 6 and negative 4, where 6 minus 4 is equal to 2. So I got my factors. Okay, so now we're going to put the A in here. So we have 1x, and then I have to put my factors in here, plus 6 minus 4. All right, so I get, again, it asks for my solutions, not my factors, and so I got x equals negative 6 and x equals positive 4. Now, these are my possible solutions. I have to check them, though, because remember last week when we square something, often you can what's called pick up a root. If it's not really a root, because of the square root, it causes it to be negative. So I'm just going to check it really quickly and put it in. So if I have 24 minus 2 times negative 6 equals negative 6, the square root, we got to try that. So I'm going to have 24, we have negative 2 times negative 6 is negative 12, so minus 12 equals negative 6, and if you notice, this one does not work. So square root of 12 does not equal negative 6, so that is not true. So this one is not true. So we need to try our x equals 4. And I get 24 minus 2 times 4 equals 4. So I have 24 minus 8 equals 4, which is 16 equals 4. And yes, square root of 16 is 4. So yes, this one does work. So the answer, if you notice, if you haven't seen already, is 4. Okay, almost finished. All right, we have number 13 here. It says use the conditions to write the equation in point slope. So point slope form and slope intercept form. Point slope form is when I have a point and a slope. It's y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Slope intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So those are the two forms that you're needing. Okay, hold those there. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2. It doesn't matter if this is x1, y1, and this is x2, y2. It just has to be consistent. If this is my x1, this partner has to be y1. Okay, so the equation for point slope form is just simply here. Y minus 4 equals negative 1, x plus 3. Now, to put it into this form, which is the form here, all I had to do was multiply negative 1 times x, negative 1 times 3, and add 4. And that's where I get that one from. Okay? Number 14. All right, it wants me to add functions, f plus g, and it's very simple because all you have to do is just add anything that's alike. So this is my f, and this is my g. So it wants me to, it says find f plus g, f minus g, f times g, and f divided by g, and determine the domain of each function. So that's what we're going to have to do on all of them. So f plus g, we're just going to add them, and it's going to be 2x squared plus 5x minus 8. And the domain of this function is given to you here. Let's see, I thought it was given to you here, but I guess it's not. So the domain here, though, of any quadratic function, basically it looks something like this, and the domain is negative infinity to positive infinity. It's always the domain of a quadratic function. All right, f minus g is going to be similar. This now you have 5x minus 8, and it's going to be minus 2x squared. I'm going to go ahead and put it in front of here just because we're more familiar with that. Now, all that is this is just looks like this, upside down. Again, same is absolutely the same. Okay, f times g. Now I'm going to multiply it, and I have 2x squared times 5x minus 8. So that's just going to be 10x to the third minus 16x squared. Okay, that looks something, and not exactly, but it's going to look something where it starts, nx to the third starts low and ends high. But the domain, again, goes all the way negative and all the way positive. So again, it is negative infinity to positive infinity. Okay? And it looks like, oh, it looks like I skipped 11 and 12. I apologize. That's okay. I'll come right back to 11 and 12. But I jumped to 14. All right. Now f divided by g. So f, remember, was, let me look back here. F is 5x minus 8. And g is 2x squared. Okay, so for this last one is we're going to look for this here. It's going to be negative infinity to positive infinity, except we have a restriction here, and we have to look at what causes the denominator to equal 0. Well, if I know if that's 0, if I put 0 in there, that's going to cause it to be 0, because 0 times 0 is 0, times 2 is still 0. So that's why the answer is this one here, where this basically tells you it's negative infinity, and it goes all the way up to 0, and then it skips over 0. That's what that basically means, is that it doesn't touch 0, and then it starts on the very top side of 0 and goes on to infinity. So essentially this is saying going negative infinity to all the way maybe negative 0.0, maybe this negative 0.0, and then 1, where it gets very close to 0. Then it skips right over 0, and then it starts again at maybe 0.01. And obviously, actually, it's going to start at an even smaller number. Same thing here, but that's just an example. Okay. All right, and I skipped over, as I said, number 11 and 12. So let's look at 11 and 12, since I accidentally skipped over 11 and 12. Okay, so 11 and 12 use interval notation to express a solution set on the number line. So first of all, we have to solve it. So we're going to divide by negative 3 on both sides, and you're going to get x. Now, because I'm dividing by a negative, now instead of saying this is going to be greater than, now I'm going to say this is less than or equal to 3. So less than or equal to, come on down here and look at our solution possibilities. And so I know it's going to be at 3. Every single one of these have a 3, but the bracket represents that it's equal to. So I look for the bracket. This one does not have a bracket. That's a parenthesis. That would just be a less than or a greater than. And this is everything smaller than. A way someone showed me one time was when I have x is less than equal to 3. you can go ahead and draw an arrow, and you know that it's going that way. That reminds you, see? So when this is x is less than equal to 3, you say, oh, well, it's going to be going that way. So all of my things is going to be shaded that way. Do you see? This one here is x is greater than or equal to 3, because look, the arrow is shaded that way. And this one here is finally just x is greater than 3, or it's all that way, but it's that parenthesis. So the answer is A in this particular case. Okay, number 12, he wants you to evaluate this function. So basically evaluate the function just means plug it in. So I'm going to plug in a 4. So I get 4 divided by absolute value of 4. Well, that's just 4 divided by 4, which is 1. Next one, B, I have to plug in negative 4. So negative 4 over absolute value of negative 4. So that's negative 4 over the absolute value of function. Remember, that's the distance from 0. How far is negative 4 away from 0?
4.
Thank you. 4. Got a little audience here. Okay. So I have negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. Okay. Finally, it says r squared. So now I have to put in r squared. So if I put r squared in here, absolute value of r squared, well, r squared is always going to be positive anytime you square something. So this is just r squared divided by r squared, which is just also 1. Okay. So the answers are 1, negative 1, and positive 1. All right, final page. Number 15. Okay. Composite functions, f of g of x, g of f of x, f of g of x, and f of g of 4, and g of f of 4. All right, so f of g of x, all you're doing is this. You're writing the function f. This is the easiest way to do this. Ready? When it says f of g of x, write out the function f. F is 2x, but instead of x, I'm going to write a parenthesis. And inside the parenthesis, I'm going to put what g of x is. All right, so my g of x is x plus 5. And then I'm just going to simplify, and that's it. So 2x plus 10 is my answer. So for the opposite, for g of f of x, I'm going to write out g. But again, instead of x, I'm just going to write a parenthesis. And inside of the parenthesis, I'm going to write I'm going to write f of x. So f of x is just 2x. So this answer is 2x plus 5. Okay, for f of g of 4, you can, if you want to, write out f and put 4 in for where x is, and the same way you did it here. Or you can do what we did. Remember, this is f of g of x. And this is g of f of x. And you can just put 4 in for this. So you can put 2 times 4 plus 10, which is 18. And you can put in this one 2 times 4 plus 5, which is 13. Okay? And that's it. Last problem. The function 7x plus 1 is 1 to 1. Find the equation of f of the inverse function. So in order to find the inverse function, you do this. It's a little trick. Y equals 7x plus 1. So all you're going to do is you're going to switch your x and y's. So I'm going to have x equals 7y plus 1. And then